Hi, friends. It's Heidi M. And I'm sitting with Dan McLeod from the Kitchener-Waterloo Film Festival. Thanks for joining me, Dan.
Thanks for having me.
So Dan is short for Daniel. For people who don't know Daniel, you are one of the members of who founded the film festival in Kitchener-Waterloo area. So maybe let's start with that. What was the idea and the need for start a festival in your region?
Sure. Well, we're not the first festival to start in the region for sure. We started more out of a necessity. So there's been like a Griff, it's been around, and there's been a lot of very genre specific festivals around for
Mhm.
years or over a decade. But what we found, myself and the other filmmakers in the region, is there wasn't really a festival that was just for us,
Mhm.
just for people who kind of grew up in Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge. So at the beginning, that's what all it was. It was all the filmmakers that we knew around. We would just rent the theater for a day or two, and we
Mhm.
just show each other's films, and that's it. And that's all we would. And we decided to call it a festival, and we
Mhm.
did that for years, privately as our own thing. And it wasn't until about 4 or 5 years ago where we decided, hey, maybe we can open this up and bring in more people, and we start showing friends of friends' films, sort of like that, and our network grew organically until the point now where we are open to the world, and we want to see it all and show as much as we can, and we're a real mixed bag of stuff.
Mhm.
So we'll show stuff that has big budget and a lot of time went into, and we also show stuff alongside it that was made like on an iPhone over the course of a weekend because that's what the people had. We're
Right.
really emphasizing that it's a festival for everyone and all types of filmmakers, whether you have limited experience or money, or whether you're an industry vet. And it's fun to see them kind of juxtaposed together and have everyone come out and mingle.
Right. So this is like a filmmakers festival. And so what's your history in film? Are you a filmmaker? Do you produce? What's sort of your other role?
I am a filmmaker. In terms of film, I've been doing that since high school. Really, I've done like dozens of shorts. I've done written and directed a couple of feature films. I've helped produce a couple more. But that's not what I do for a living. It's always just been something I did for fun.
Right.
So I still work in the creative side of things for my 9 to 5,
Hmm.
but I don't generally take much of a paycheck for my creative works just because I never wanted to try to survive that way.
Hmm.
I felt like it would take the fun out of it. And for
Hmm.
me, it's important that if I'm doing this, it is fun. So even with the festival, we don't take any money from it. Anything that we do, any profits are given to the filmmakers
Right.
that are showing their films, and we're open book with that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, I relate on the having the 9 to 5 to follow a passion because sometimes it's a luxury that we get to have, some of us, in terms of being creative in other ways outside of the 9 to 5.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned that the festival has expanded, but you're also mentioning that it's supporting like back sort of the artists that you're whose work you're showcasing. So what was the evolution of your programming from, year one? Now I think it's year four, and you said you're open to the world. So you're incorporating films that are outside of Canada as well?
We are not as many as it's not like a 33 split. It's
Right.
we're way more leaning towards Ontario in general, simply
Hmm.
because we want people to be able to show up and see it. For me, like chasing laurels for film festivals and places that you can't go to never really made any sense to me. The way that the film market is even done in terms of like how people get paid, like film festival importance for that has changed a
Yeah.
lot. And what's important to us is like you go to the theater to see your film on a giant screen. And that's the basis of the point. And to meet and like I talk to other filmmakers.
Mhm.
So even though, we do take international stuff and we are showing some international stuff, it is way more Ontario based or people who can make the uh, trip here. So we do have some from the United States coming as well. We've spoken to them to make sure they know how to get here and are
Right.
interested in being here. But we're also showing one of the feature films we're showing on the Sunday is The Martini Shot, and that's done by a Canadian director with American actors in shot in Ireland. So that's
Yes.
kind of all over the place.
Right. I did see that. So thank you for segueing into the programming. So the festival itself is from May 31st to June 2nd, as you said, on the Sunday. What's that programming like? Do you start with shorts on Friday and then Saturday's a bit of a mixed bag?
It's mostly shorts with two features kind of bookending it. So the Friday is our kind of wild night. We call it a Midnight Madness just because people know what that means. I was like, oh, Midnight Madness, like TFL, yeah, yeah, sort of. But the
Makes
point is,
sense.
yeah, people get it. So it's just some of the more wild stuff, and we're doing a premiere there of a feature film called Demento. It's by Ethan Bao.
Mhm.
He's a local Kitchener guy, and he's done some shorts with the festival before, and he's done features before, which I didn't realize. So we gave us first crack at his new film, and it's awesome. It is totally like it's like an Evil Dead meets like a John Woo action flick. So
Fun.
yeah, it's sweet. So I'm looking forward to people watching that. But on the opposite spectrum 2 days later on the Sunday, we're doing the Martini Shot, which is I haven't seen anything quite like it. It's like watching like a play that's like stage directed but shot cinematically. It
Okay.
is very interesting, and
Mhm.
it's got like famous names in it, and I think that that'll have some of the appeal. But I just thought it was really neat to see a film directed and shot that way
Mhm.
with actors acting in a way that I hadn't really seen before. So I thought that was cool. And the two films, Demento and The Martini Shot, couldn't be more different. And
Right.
uh, and that's important. So in the middle of it all on the Saturday for our short films, and it's just shorts.
Yes.
It's really it's really everything. We've got short docs, we've got abstract art films, we've got animation, we've got dramas, we've even got a little bit of horror in there. It's fun. Some comedies as well. And I like to think of like our short film nights is the closest to what the festival was before it was public. It was literally just whatever you made and you want to show people, and that's sort of the core of it. And it's a lot of fun because you don't know what to expect in the next film. So even if you didn't like that short film, well, you might like the next one because it's guaranteed to be completely different.
Yeah. I always tell people that they should always make time for a short film program because you never really know what you're going to get. And it's sort of a nice way to maybe even learn about filmmakers that later on make it into bigger, like more feature films, if that's the thing. But,
Absolutely.
um, and it's not easy making short films. I think that's another thing that I always say. It looks like it could be easy, but it's probably one of the hardest things to do, to keep us entertained for a limited amount of time.
Definitely. You got to set up and pay off really quick.
Right. So let's talk about how's the audience now changed? Because I know it's still a filmmakers festival, but you're now opening it to the public. What's the feedback been, if you've had any feedback from your local audience and who's coming out to support?
Um, I mean, it's been positive. I haven't had any negative, I guess, if I'll put it that way. But yes, we are still, and we are open to the public, and people are welcome to come. But the conversations we have while at the festival are geared towards the filmmakers. So when I'm up there or other people are up there addressing the audience, we are addressing them like filmmakers. The topics we have conversations around our filmmaking topics. It can be this year we're talking a lot about funding and
Mm-hmm.
just like how are people making their money on this? How are they getting their funding? Because like the more ex it's never been a better time to be a filmmaker in terms of getting equipment. It's editing software. It's never been cheaper, but there's never been more filmmakers, and so it's
Right.
never been harder
Mm-hmm.
to get grants. So like how do you do it? And that's the kind of stuff that we focus on. Our conversations are still around filmmakers, but doesn't mean people still can't show up and watch the films and talk to the filmmakers. So people who may not be filmmakers but are just interested in the art in general tend to get a lot out of it.
For sure. So these are sort of discussions you have post screenings, or do you also have sessions outside of the screening?
We also meet up before.
Mhm.
Now those meetups are not publicized. Like we don't tell people where we're going to be, but it's not far. We're usually in a coffee shop or a bar near the theater, and we're
Mhm.
all meeting up before each screening, and we're having these conversations as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to get a picture of, how now you're fitting into the Kitchener-Waterloo area as a film festival, and also how you're supporting yourselves essentially as filmmakers and people who want to be creative. You're at the Princess Cinema, what was that partnership like? And it seems like they're very supportive of the festival.
They are. I've known John Tutt, the owner, for years, and I can't remember how I met him. But I do know that what the first year I was like, hey, I want to do like a festival and like in terms of make it public. He was extremely supportive and he sponsored like the first few feature films we brought in and all this. He gave discounted rates. I mean, he can't just give stuff away for free, but it was at cost. And he's been a great partner at this. And they have been since we started. We're lucky that the Princess is run by people who actually love films
Mhm.
still, and it's not just like, oh, we're in the popcorn business. They still love cinema, and they actually watch the films they book.
Mhm.
So it's been a very easy partnership there. We did a fundraiser for them 1 year when the pandemic had everything closed. So we actually they have a partner cinema in Hamilton. So and they do a service where you can rent a screen. So we rented a screen and we did a drive-in theater and we did a fundraiser for the princess.
Okay,
So
nice. Yeah.
yeah,
So I think what I like about what you're saying is that filmmaking in all of its sense has community roots somewhere, right? Because without
absolutely.
connections, things just don't get made. And
I wouldn't have
also,
been able to make my own feature films if it wasn't for doing this sort of stuff. I met all of my film buddies by going to smaller startups like this. Before we were doing our thing, there was a group called the 12 Angry Filmmakers uh, in Kitchener, and they were basically a group of 12 filmmakers who like got a small grant, I think it was from the city, and they
mhm,
each they made a short film and they screened it. And I went to the screening at I think the was the Kitchener Library or the Waterloo Library. It was before they had like a proper screen
right.
and that's where I met all these people.
Mm,
And I was like, hey, I want to do this. I want to do what you're doing. Because all I have is my DSLR in my parents' basement at the moment. So, what do you say? And people
right,
were like, yeah, let's make some films. And we would just go out weekends, evenings after work, whenever we had time, and we would just help each other with their stuff. And I think it's important that these sort of events and opportunities still exist
right,
because I don't live in Vancouver. I don't live in LA. I don't live in Toronto. If I'm making films, I'm making them here and I'm making them with people in my community.
right. Yeah, I think so. And I think for someone like me who lives in Toronto or in the area of Toronto, is that sometimes I won't get to see some of these films because they don't always make it to the festivals. Or, I mean, truth be told, there's too many competing festivals in a city like this one where we can't always make it to everything. And even though we might want to support. So it's nice that, communities and cities like Kitchener-Waterloo still have their own way of keeping that support and, doing local. I also think just remind folks that this is also a lot of Ontario filmmakers that are going to be there. So it's easy to get to, for those of us in the GTA, there's like, you could drive, but you can also use the GO train to make it out. So for anyone who's interested in a trip.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we have a lot of Toronto-based filmmakers showing up. So I think we've got like I think over 30 films, short films playing. So yeah, check it out. There's it's a great way to meet other filmmakers. It's a great way to see something different. Our Midnight Madness Friday is selling really quick, this is our
Nice.
first year doing online sales. Usually we're just cash donation at the door, and
Mhm.
it's still donation. Like no, you don't have to pay if you don't want to pay, and if you just want to check it out. But if you want to donate or grab a ticket in advance, all that goes towards the rental and paying the artist. And
Right.
if you don't have the cash on you, don't worry about it. Just come check it out. People just want their films seen, you know? Most
For sure.
filmmakers like, yeah, big screen, audience, awesome.
For anyone who might want to donate online, is that still a possibility if they want to do so after the fact?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're keeping the donations up until the end of the Sunday, the end of June 2nd.
Okay. And for anyone who's interested, where would they go? Is there a website that, I mean, I'm going to link it, but it's also good to let them.
Sure. We had a website and we found it didn't do anything. So
Yeah.
we live on social media for the most part. Our
Yes.
tickets are on a Film Freeway link we could actually can send you, but if you for Instagram it's at KW Film Fest and all the information is pumped out there pretty quick.
Yeah. I find that that's honestly the best way these days in terms of, at least I find within Canada that IG or Instagram seems to be the place where a lot of us are sharing information because we can contain it to one place and not have to navigate too many pages. But I'll be sure to tag you on for people to know. And also I'll put the Film Freeway link in at the bottom of the video so people can also go directly to Film Freeway.
Thank you
Um,
very much.
I didn't want to forget. I had another question, and I guess I'm out of order here. But what was the total submissions that you received in terms of just submissions, and then deciding what you're going to screen that weekend?
Oh, this was the problem is I think we had a couple hundred submissions. Yes, we
Mm,
and the thing is, like, I have a full-time job, so I could not watch all of these films this year. It was impossible. So I uh, was lucky where someone had volunteered, like, hey, if you need someone to help you with this year, uh,
mm,
uh, let me know. And I was like, hey, David Bragg, do you mean that? Because I really need help. And he helped me go through all the submissions. Thankfully, and it is a balancing act in terms of you want like stuff that's going to wow your audience and you also want stuff that's not from uh the other side of the world where they're not going to support your festival or have any chance of being there. So getting that balance of like, hey, we remember our roots. We are a local festival first, and we need to promote each other, but also not exclude others. So getting like that ratio correct in the selection process, it was very time consuming. Because it
yeah.
turns out there's a lot of filmmakers around here, more than we
Well,
can possibly show.
well, that's also good to know, right? And the reason I wanted to ask this question is so that people understand that a film festival is a lot of work. It is a passion project, and there is a lot of talent. And I speak from a programmer's point of view too, in that we want to support every filmmaker, but at the end of the day, you're right. You got to balance out, you know, your goal to keep it local, but also, accessible in terms of who's going to come see it. So,
Absolutely. There's no perfect formula.
no.
We just do our best.
And also just time slots. That's another thing I guess you got to think about, right?
Yeah, if there's advice I can give to people in general who want to submit their films and they're doing short films, keep it as short as possible and get to the point as fast as you can. Just
Mhm.
because like can your 20-minute film be a 12-minute film? Can you tell your story in that block? Can you edit it down? If you're trying to get in within those small time slots, because time slots at theaters cost money, and they are looking at we want to show as many films as possible, but if all the films we're getting submissions for are like half an hour, then now we can only show three films in an hour and a half instead of 10, right?
And yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's always sage advice for anybody. And like I said, it's not easy to make short films in 10 minutes, but when they're made well, definitely people enjoy a short program, I think, in general. You get
Absolutely.
flavor, good set of flavors. So let's make sure people know it is from May 31st to June 2nd at the Princess Cinema, and KW Film Fest at Instagram is the best place to find information.
That's the best way.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you so much.